let's talk about what the symptoms are of that dreaded nighttime histamine dump. So after my last video, I got a lot of questions on what is a histamine dump when I went over the 5 things that you can do to help prevent experiencing that. And essentially, histamine dump is just a phrase to describe what you're experiencing when your histamine bucket is overflowing. And for most people, when this is going to happen is towards the nighttime and then into the early morning hours. And the reason for that is over the course of the day, our histamine bucket is going to naturally fill with getting exposed to different environmental chemicals, just the stressors of everyday life, eating, because unfortunately just the act of eating, even if you're eating low histamine, is going to trigger the release of histamine because that is part of our stomach acid. That's what keeps it acidic. What are those symptoms? Well, essentially any of the symptoms you already experience with histamine intolerance, and this can really run the gamut because we have histamine receptors throughout our entire body. So we have histamine receptors in our brain, which can trigger things like anxiety. We have the histamine receptors in our gut, which can trigger things like gas and bloating, diarrhea, constipation. We have histamine receptors in our skin, and so that's when we can experience things like eczema, different types of rashes. You can also experience histamine symptoms, as we know, that present as sinus issues because histamine impacts our blood vessels and it causes them to swell. The reason it does that is it's a protective mechanism. So we have to keep in mind that histamine is not the bad guy and it's doing this for a reason. You have high histamine levels for a reason. And the most often causes that I see with individuals are number 1, mold. Number 2 is parasites or other different types of gut infections. Number 3 could be things like heavy metals. 4, there's always a stress component. A lot of times there's been a prolonged period of stress, and this we know leads to nervous system dysregulation. 5, you might have some genetic mutations where your body does not break down histamine efficiently. You could also have genetic mutations with your liver's ability to detox. Hopefully that clears up what a histamine dump is. If you need tips on how to prevent that, check out my previous video. And if you are looking for one-to-one help, I am accepting new clients. You can book a call with me through Instagram. And if you're not ready to become a client, I do have a really good histamine healing hormone guide. You can also grab that off Instagram. As always, stay here if you're looking to learn more information on histamine intolerance, balancing your hormones, or healing your gut.